Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are opening up a true ancient masterpiece. We're diving deep into the 1st century to uncover a text that literally anchors our entire understanding of Western civilization. It's called The Antiquities of the Jews by Flavius Josephus, and honestly, it is a monumental piece of work. It bridges entirely different worlds, intertwining rich religious traditions with some incredibly high-stakes historical storytelling. Let me ask you something. How much of ancient history do you think relies on just one man? It's kind of a staggering thought, right? When we study the ancient world, especially that incredibly turbulent period around the Roman destruction of Jerusalem, so many records have just been completely lost to the sands of time. Yet our modern grasp of this entire era, our whole understanding of the ancient Near East, basically hinges on the survival of one highly complicated and absolutely fascinating individual. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap. First, we'll look at the man behind the history. Then, we're going to see how he bridged scripture and history, unpack his unique writing style, examine why scholars are still studying his work today, and finally, trace his lasting historical legacy. Part 1. The man behind the history, Flavius Josephus. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the incredible paradox of this guy's life. To really grasp the weight of his text, you have to understand the intense political climate of the 1st century. Josephus actually began as a Jewish rebel, fighting fiercely against the mighty Roman Empire. But after being captured and famously surviving this really desperate suicide pact with his own men, he ends up as a Roman historian. He literally worked directly under the protection of the very emperors he used to fight against. I mean, think about it. How often do you get the history of a brutal conflict written by someone sponsored by the victors, but who actually fought for the losing side? So, Josephus lived through this earth-shattering political conflict, observing both Jewish society and Roman politics at an exceptionally close range. And why does that matter to us today? Well, in an era where countless ancient records were permanently destroyed, this insider-turned-outsider viewpoint is pure gold. It gives us a frontline seat to the 1st century tensions in Judea and Jerusalem that we simply wouldn't have otherwise. Moving on to Section 2, Bridging Scripture and History, Translating a Culture. Here is where Josephus tackled a truly monumental task. He had to introduce deep-rooted Jewish beliefs to a Greco-Roman audience that had practically zero context for them. He didn't just translate the Hebrew Bible word for word. That wouldn't have made sense to them. Instead, he deliberately wove those stories together with historical and cultural commentary. He was actively building a bridge, making it so non-Jewish readers of the Roman world could actually grasp and respect a completely foreign worldview. And this brilliantly illustrates his whole strategy. He took foundational narratives of key figures like Abraham, Moses, David, and Solomon, and he expanded them. For instance, he portrayed Moses not just as a religious prophet, but as a brilliant Greek-style military general. Why? To make him instantly impressive and relatable to a Roman reader. By doing this, he successfully preserved Jewish history for later generations, planting it firmly outside the confines of the religious tradition itself, right into the wider world's historical record. Section 3. A unique writing style. History as literature. You see, Josephus completely refused to let history be just a dry, boring list of dates and treaties. He used what we call a historical narrative approach. It's this masterful blending of storytelling, religious tradition, political history, and biography. He injected all these dramatic details into well-known biblical narratives, giving the stories breathing room and really bringing the ancient world to life in vivid color for his readers. So the crucial point is that his thematic focus zeroed right in on personalities, ambitions, and moral struggles. He understood that history is made by humans, with all their flaws, hopes, and desires. By focusing on these deeply human elements, rather than just, military movements or tax records, he gave the Antiquities of the Jews a lasting literary quality. It's exactly what makes the text read less like a dusty old encyclopedia and way more like a captivating epic drama. That brings us to Section 4, Why Scholars Study It Today, a Rare Window. Today, there are 4 distinct academic fields that absolutely rely on Josephus. Scholars studying ancient Jewish culture lean on him heavily. Historians of Roman politics use his close-range observations. Folks analyzing the religious traditions of the Near East need his detailed cultural commentary. And researchers looking into the historical environment surrounding early Christianity find his accounts completely indispensable. His writings are literally the foundational bedrock for all 4 of these spheres. Because of this massive reach, his text basically functions as the ultimate crossover document in debates about historical evidence. It bridges history, theology, and archaeology. Think about it. When modern archaeologists are out there trying to make sense of a first-century ruin in the Middle East, like that dramatic cliff-top fortress of Masada, they are almost always turning directly to the writings of Flavius Josephus to contextualize exactly what they've just dug up. Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds. A lasting historical legacy. 2 millennia of influence. The physical journey of this book is just incredible. It starts way back in the 1st century, written during the intense turmoil of Roman-era Judea. From there, it somehow survives the fall of empires to reach the medieval and Renaissance periods, where it was widely read and meticulously preserved by scholars all throughout Europe. And that long, perilous journey brings it right to the present day, where it remains absolutely essential for historical research and for exploring the origins of Western civilization. It's a text that has seamlessly spoken to completely different eras of human history. 2,000 years. Just take a second to think about that. Think about the countless libraries that have burned down, the civilizations that have completely collapsed, all the ancient voices that have gone completely silent over that massive span of time. Yet, the Antiquities of the Jews remains one of the most significant, complete historical works to survive from antiquity to sit on our shelves today. So I want to leave you with this thought today. How much of our accepted ancient history is filtered through the lens of a single, highly complicated individual? Flavius Josephus was a rebel, a survivor, a Roman historian, and a cultural translator. His pen fundamentally shaped our entire memory of the ancient world. Honestly, it leaves you marveling at just how fragile, subjective, and utterly fascinating the nature of recorded history truly is. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll see you next time.